Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I am Priya Venkatraman from Pon Vidyashram School. Let us have a small recap of our previous session. That is, we have discussed about the nitrogen cycle. The cyclic process of nitrogen being fixed, used by plants and animals and later returned to the atmosphere is referred to as nitrogen cycle. Okay, there are 5 steps involved in this. Nitrogen fixation, nitrogen assimilation, ammonification, nitrification and denitrification. Let me explain in short. Clear? Nitrogen fixation can be done in 2 ways. With the help of lightning and with the help of biological nitrogen fixation. Okay. In the process of lightning, lightning contains high energy. In our atmosphere, there are 78% of nitrogen is present in our atmosphere in the gaseous form. Plants and animals, they cannot utilize this gaseous form of nitrogen directly. So, the gaseous form will be converted into plant usable form. This is the first step. This will be done with the help of lightning. Lightning, since it contains more energy, this will break down the nitrogen in the atmosphere. That is, nitrogen, common valency of nitrogen is 3. So, nitrogen molecule is available in the atmosphere in such a way, N triple bond N. So, we need more energy to break down this triple bond. So, lightning easily will break down the triple bond. Then, nitrogen atom will be liberated. This nitrogen atom when reacts with the oxygen in the atmosphere to form oxides of nitrogen. Then recollect the points: acid, rain. When it mixes with rainwater, when it reaches to the ground, what will happen? Finally, we will obtain nitrate. Clear? This is the first step. Okay, then now the nitrates can be utilized by the plants. Okay, this will be absorbed by the roots of the plants and will be transported to the plant to synthesize protein. Clear? The process of conversion of inorganic nitrogen compounds into organic compounds that become a part of living organism is called nitrogen assimilation. That is, here I have mentioned about protein synthesis. Okay. Then the third one, ammonification. Listen, finally, protein is available in the plant's body. When the organism consume plants, herbivores, carnivores and even human consume the plants, everything, all the protein will be carried forward to another generation, to all the organisms. Clear? Once the organism die, what will happen? Ammonification is nothing but as a conversion of complex organic compounds like protein into ammonia, because the plants or organism, they contain protein in their body. These molecules will be broken down into simpler. These protein organic complex compounds will be broken down into ammonia. Okay, this is the third step. Then what will happen? Ammonium salt in the soil is converted into nitrites by Nitrosomonas bacteria. The nitrites are converted into nitrates by Nitrobacter bacteria. These bacteria are called nitrifying bacteria. The nitrates so formed in the soil can once again be absorbed by the plants. This process is called nitrification. Listen, now the protein molecules will be broken down into ammonia. So, from ammonia, there are 2 steps involved in this process. The first one, Nitrosomonas bacteria. This will convert the ammonia into nitrites. Okay, then this nitrites will be converted into nitrates with the help of Nitrobacter bacteria. Okay, then finally the nitrates so formed in the soil can once again be absorbed by the plants. The rest will be the nitrates in the soil are converted by Pseudomonas bacteria into nitrogen gas, which escapes into the atmosphere. Clear? Some of the salt, that is nitrates, will be absorbed by the plants. The rest will be converted into nitrogen gas by Pseudomonas bacteria. And the nitrogen gas escapes into the atmosphere. So the conversion of nitrates into free nitrogen gas by denitrifying bacteria, that is Pseudomonas, is called denitrification. You might have observed, if bread is kept in a warm and moist place, it gets covered with a greenish grey mold, that is fungal growth. Correct. Similarly, if we leave milk in a warm place for a long time, it sours and gets spoiled. Not only milk, bread, but also jams, pickles and fruits are examples of some common foods which are affected by the fungal growth. Do you accept? Yes. Now the question will arise in your mind, why do these food items get spoiled? Okay, and you have the answer for this question. Yes, food items containing a lot of moisture get spoiled easily because the microbes prefer moist and warm place for their growth. Clear? Okay. How will you identify that the food item gets spoiled? The spoiled food item can be identified by the unpleasant smell, changed color and bad taste. Do you agree with me? Yes. Why do the spoiled food items has foul smell? Food items have foul smell. Yes, the microbes break down food substances and produce new product called amines. AMINES. This is a new product. These products give a peculiar smell to the food item. Also, amines change the chemical composition, the texture and the physical appearance of the food. That is why we have the change in color, change in taste, change in odor. Okay. Have you ever felt ill soon after eating a meal? If so, you may have eaten spoiled food. Microbes that grow on our food sometimes produce toxic substances which are harmful for our health. The toxic substances produced by microbes make the food poisonous, causing serious illness called food poisoning. The major symptoms of food poisoning are vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, headache, and sometimes you will have fever also. Have you ever thought, how can we protect our food item from the attack of these microbes? Why do we keep our food item inside the refrigerator? Why does your mom boil water before drinking? Etc. In the same way, you will have n number of questions in your mind. All these are different methods by which we protect and preserve our food items. The process by which spoilage of food is prevented using chemical or physical method is known as food preservation. Food preservation can be done with chemical method or physical method. Food gets spoiled due to microbial contamination. Most microbes cannot grow or multiply in certain conditions. Do you remember? Just recollect the points which we have discussed in our previous session. Just we should not provide warm and moist conditions for the microbial growth. Let us discuss one by one in detail how we are going to preserve our food item. The most common methods used for food preservation. The first one, chemical method. Food can be preserved by using certain chemical substances which can prevent the growth of microbes. Such chemical substances are called food preservatives. Most chemical preservatives remove oxygen from the food items. This helps in preventing microbial growth. Here our concept is to remove oxygen. Okay, we can prevent the growth of microbes. Okay, for that what we have to do? We have to add some preservatives. What are the preservatives? Sodium benzoate, citric acid, potassium metabisulfite. Let me repeat. Sodium benzoate, citric acid and potassium metabisulfite are common food preservatives, chemical food preservatives. Okay, among the three you have a little idea about citric acid, I think so. Almost all the citrus fruit contain citric acid, right? Okay, sodium benzoate is used for preserving fruit juices. Potassium metabisulfite is used for preserving cut fruits, jams. Then the second method, preservation by common salt. For ages, people have preserved fish and meat by salting. Meat and fish are covered with common salt to prevent the growth of microbes. Salt, what is the truth behind that? Okay, in the previous case, just we remove oxygen, just we cut the supply of oxygen to prevent the microbial growth. Here, by adding salt, we are going to remove the moisture content. Salting draws out water, moisture from the food item. This prevents the growth of microbes. Okay, and this prevents their reproduction also. Salting is also used to preserve amla, raw mangoes, tamarind, etc. The third step, preservation by sugar. Sugar reduces the moisture content of the food and thus inhibits the growth of food spoiling microbes. Jams, jellies are preserved by sugar. Clear? Next one, preservation by oil and vinegar. Oil and vinegar prevent the growth of food spoiling microbes. Mustard oil and vinegar are widely used as preservatives for fruits and vegetables in the form of pickles. Meat and fish are also preserved by this method. Then the next one is pasteurization. Pasteurization is a process for preservation of milk. In this method, milk is heated at about 70 degrees C for 15 to 30 seconds to kill the bacteria present in it and cooling it quickly to 10 degrees C to prevent the remaining bacteria from growing. When the milk is heated about 70 degrees C, all the microbes present in the milk will be killed. Okay. Once the milk will turn into warm, okay, chances are there for the formation of microbes. So immediately we have to keep it in such a temperature, that is 10 degrees C, to prevent the remaining bacteria from growing. This milk is then stored in sterilized bottle or pouches in cold places. Pasteurized milk can be consumed without boiling because it is free from harmful microorganisms. This method was invented by Louis Pasteur. Then the next step is by cooling or freezing. Foods like fruits, vegetables, meat and cooked food are kept at low temperature in the refrigerator or deep freezers to prevent their spoilage. Low temperature prevents the spoilage of food because it retards the growth of microorganisms. Canning or vacuum packing. Food items are first heated at high temperature to kill bacteria and they is posed to obtain sterilized food. The sterilized food is then sealed in airtight cans or containers to prevent reinfection by microbes. This air-free packing is also called vacuum packing. Then the last method is dehydration. The process of removal of water from a substance is called dehydration. You have already learned. Okay. Since moisture is one of the main requirements for microbial growth, removal of water from food materials is an efficient method of food preservation. Sun drying is a traditional method of preserving food. Wheat, rice and pulses are cleaned and dried in the sun. Vegetables like cauliflower, spinach are also preserved in this manner for a long time. Thank you. When you have cold, your mom advised you to use a handkerchief while sneezing or coughing. Why? Yes. Microbial diseases that can spread from an infected person to other healthy person through air, water, food or physical contact or by animals are known as communicable diseases. Examples of some communicable diseases are cholera, common cold, chickenpox and tuberculosis. These are some examples of communicable diseases. Let us discuss one by one in detail. Through the air we breathe, the disease causing microbes are known as pathogens. They can spread or they can move from one body to another body through air or through water or through the food item or through with a physical contact. Okay. First, through the air we breathe, microorganisms that cause common cold, tuberculosis, pneumonia, etc. spread through the air we breathe. For example, when a person suffering from common cold sneezes or coughs, fine droplets of moisture carrying germs are released in the air. When a healthy person breathes such air, the germs enter in his or her body and infect that particular person. For this reason, we should keep our hand or handkerchief on our mouth and nose while coughing or sneezing. Then the second one, through the water we drink. Some diseases spread through water. For example, cholera, typhoid, jaundice, etc. The cholera causing microbes enter a healthy person's body through the water they drink and infect them. After floods or any other natural calamity, we are advised to drink boiled water. Why? This is because many disease causing microbes are present in the water at that time. Boiling of water kills the microorganisms. Clear? Next one, through the food we eat. Already we have discussed some protozoa bacteria are present even in our soil. So protozoa bacteria and spores of fungi are present in the soil from where they enter our food item. Therefore, we should wash fruits and vegetables after bringing them from the market. Next one, through insects and animals. There are some insects and animals which act as carriers of disease causing microbes. Actually, they will not spread. They will take the carriers. They will take the pathogens which causes diseases and they will inject the pathogens inside our body. Maybe inject or they will leave the pathogen in our place. Okay, that is why they are called as carriers. These animals and insects are called vectors. Vectors carry the disease causing microbes from an infected person to a healthy person and cause diseases. First one, housefly, and the second one is mosquito. These are some examples of vectors. Okay, housefly. The housefly is the most dangerous disease carrier. Collects the disease causing microbes on its leg and mouth parts from the feces and other organic wastes. Just recollect which is the breeding place of housefly and mosquitoes. Okay, they will sit on even the feces and organic wastages, everything. From there they will carry the pathogens, okay, in their leg. The same housefly, when sits on our exposed food items, leaves the disease causing microbes on the food. When we consume such food item, we get infected. Various diseases like cholera, typhoid, dysentery and tuberculosis are known to spread by houseflies through contaminated food and water. So we should avoid eating uncovered food items. Then the next one is mosquito. The female mosquito sucks the blood of human beings. While doing so, it also transmits plasmodium. What do you mean by plasmodium? It is a protozoan. Okay, it just transmits the plasmodium into the human bloodstream. Plasmodium causes malaria disease. So mosquito acts as a carrier of, even few mosquitoes act as a carrier of dengue virus. All the mosquitoes breed in water. Hence, one should not let the water collect in coolers or tires or flower pots, etc. Not only in these things, okay. Wherever you have to always keep your surroundings clean. That will be the, if there is any collected water is there, that will be the breeding place of mosquitoes and housefly. So by keeping our surroundings clean and dry, we can prevent mosquitoes from breeding. Thank you. Microbes cause diseases in humans, animals, plants and even in poultry, birds. That's what we are going to discuss in this small session. Okay, common cold, dengue fever, polio, chickenpox, smallpox, AIDS. These are caused by viruses. Typhoid, cholera, tuberculosis. These are the diseases caused by bacteria. Malaria, amoebic dysentery are caused by protozoa. And ringworm, a type of skin disease caused by fungi. Microbes cause a disease in cattle. Anthrax is caused by bacteria. Cattle get affected by anthrax. Cowpox is caused by viruses. This affects cattle and poultry birds, or also get affected by diseases called bird flu, fowl pox, etc. Even plants also get affected by microbes. Bacteria affect rice crop and the disease name is blight. Bindi, that is okra, also get affected by viruses. The name of the disease is yellow vein mosaic. Wheat and mustard get affected by fungi and the disease name is rust. A tabular column is given for better understanding, children. I conclude this topic with a slogan that microbes are friend and foe. Being a student, you should also play a vital role to keep your surroundings clean. Thank you.